There we go. We are live. Everybody, thank you so much for those of you watching live or those that are watching on repeat. It is January 5th, 2024, the first show of the new year. I want to thank all of those that are joining live or that are watching this on repeat. I am CJ Pronk. This is the Big CeeJ Sports Podcast. Got a few things to get to today for sure. Obviously, a huge week 18 in the NFL. Lots of things still in play for quite a few teams. Some teams in a very important game playing teams that are going to be resting the majority of their major players. And obviously, the College Football Playoff National Championship coming up on Monday that should be an excellent game between Michigan and Washington. All that and more. New feature as well. Was able to get some pretty fun toys for Christmas that should allow us to do quite a few different things that we have not done so far. I'm hoping for those of you that are new to the show, that the audio sounds good to you guys. Those of you that have been watching the show as well, I'm hoping the audio is an improvement over me just using my gaming headset like I was in the past. But definitely a few things that I wanted to kind of just dive into before we get the show started is I will definitely open up our texts and or phone calls. We do have a phone number now that will allow us to broadcast live calls to the show. That number, for those wanting to dial in once we do open up that portion of the show, or you can call at any time if there's anything you wanted to opinionate on that we're talking about during the show. But that phone number that, again, you can call or text is going to be 980-202-0785. It also should be visible down on the ticker, down on the bottom of the screen there, so you should hopefully be able to see that there as well. But 980-202-0785. It's through Google Voice that I have that number, so what it'll do is when you answer it, it'll have you say your name, so you can just let me know. That way I can know who I'm talking to once the call comes in, and then we can get to your question. And we can have a conversation or a debate or whatever it may be about that topic. But again, just want to thank everybody that is watching live or that is watching on repeat. Your support is always appreciated. If you have not done so as well, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow wherever you may be watching, and share as well. Let's go ahead and jump right into a huge Week 18 in the NFL. We have two massive games tomorrow, two big-time matchups. We have the Ravens and Steelers. Now, the Ravens, they've already locked up the number one seed, so they are not playing for anything at this point. In fact, most of their big-time guys, if not all of them, are going to be resting. We'll see no Lamar Jackson. Odell Beckham Jr. will not be playing. I'm sure Kyle Hamilton, who's I believe still banged up a little bit, wouldn't have been playing anyway. Roquan Smith won't be playing. Patrick Queen won't be playing. The majority of their stud guys are not going to be on the field. The Steelers, however, are still playing for everything. They still have the ability to get into the playoffs at this point. If you look at the AFC playoff picture right now, you have Ravens 1, Dolphins currently at 2. We'll get to them in a bit. Chiefs at 3. The AFC South still does not have a confirmed winner yet. That is still a toss-up between actually 3 teams right now. The Texans, Colts, or the Jags, or the Jags are in the driver's seat. If the Jags win, they're going to be in. But your second game tomorrow is going to be between Houston and Indianapolis, which could potentially be a massive game when it comes to the AFC South. The winner of that game, if the Jaguars were to slip up and lose to Tennessee, which is definitely possible, it is in Tennessee, that's going to give the division to the winner of that Colts and Texans game in Indianapolis tomorrow. So we'll know once that game happens, if the Jaguars do slip up, we'll know the winner of the Colts and the Texans tomorrow afternoon will win the AFC South. We'll have the Steelers and Ravens are at 4:30 Eastern, and then the Texans and Colts is actually a night game, 8:15 Eastern. Kind of like a special edition of Monday Night Football, kind of how the Cowboys and Lions game was last week, where it was on a Saturday instead of on a Monday. But it should be a great Saturday of football. And then obviously quite a few meaningful games on Sunday as well. You look at the game in Carolina, which it's kind of surprising that a game with the Panthers is an important game because of how poor their season has been this year, unfortunately. But if Tampa Bay wins that game in Charlotte on Sunday, they will win the South. So that is another game that has playoff implications, and Tampa could host a playoff game. You look as well, the Bears and Packers. That's another big one on Sunday. 4:25 p.m. Eastern kickoff for that one. The Packers, the second year in a row that they have a win and you're in game at home, the last game of the season. Now, last year, the Lions, who had nothing to play for, came in and spoiled it in Lambeau, go in and get a big-time win there. And Aaron Rodgers' last game as a Green Bay Packer. So the Bears right now have been eliminated. I, for some reason, earlier in the week thought that they were still mathematically, even though it was a long shot, I thought that they, for some reason, could potentially still get into the playoffs. That's not the case. It will be the Packers. If they win, they are in. And for the Bears, obviously, nothing to really play for other than spoiling as they did last year. But if we look right now, kind of what I wanted to also go into, the one other division that we haven't really got to is the NFC East, which hasn't had a repeat winner in such a long time. The Eagles obviously won it last year. We're in the driver's seat basically the entire season to win that division. And they completely blew it. Before we do get to that, we do have a comment here. Austin says Fields has a job to play for too. Oh, absolutely. Justin Fields, obviously going into his fifth year, are the Bears going to pick up that fifth-year option? They're going to let him slide. They're going to extend him. They obviously have the first pick in the draft with what a lot of people are calling, a handful, at least two generational quarterbacks that are going to be available in this draft, and Drake May and Caleb Williams. You could also add Penix into the mix. You could also add Jaden Daniels, some people say, into that mix. So absolutely, Justin Fields with a job to play for. I will say this: I'm very glad I don't have to make those, multi-million-dollar decisions like those front offices do in the NFL. But for me, Justin Fields has won that job. Justin Fields should have no reason to not stick around. I think he showed this year when they actually gave him a big-time weapon in DJ Moore what he can do. They started off the season dreadful, and they're about to finish potentially 8-9, which obviously is not the goal, but that's a massive improvement from where they started the season as they've gone on this roll here in the second half of the year. And I think Justin Fields has definitely earned that spot, but we'll see. We'll see. That's a big part of that game as well. Could be Justin Fields potentially his last game as a Chicago Bear. And he also did come out just to add a little fuel to the fire for that game and say that there's nothing to do in Green Bay other than watch football. No, I have not been to Green Bay. However, I do have a very good friend that plays for the Green Bay Packers that I have asked about Green Bay. He tends to, he says he likes it there. It's a very historic football city. Obviously, the Packers are one of the oldest franchises in the NFL. So obviously, the first thing that you think of when you hear about Green Bay or think of Green Bay is the Packers. But from everybody that I've spoken to about Green Bay that's actually been there, they say it's a great little town. That's a very cool place. But we'll move on here again to our next kind of very important game, and that is the Dallas Cowboys visiting the Washington Commanders. That'll be a 4:25 kickoff on Fox. The Cowboys win that game and they win the NFC East. Now, as I was saying before, the NFC East has not had a repeat winner in I think like almost 20 years. I'd have to look up the exact number, but it's been a different winner every year for the last couple decades almost. The Eagles won it last year. As I was saying before, we're in the driver's seat most of the season to wrap up that division pretty much without any problems and have gone on a terrible run. Lost to the Cardinals last week at home in a game that would have clinched the division for them. I mean, it's bad news. It's bad news for the Philadelphia Eagles, but again, the Cowboys win that division game against the Commanders, and even if the Eagles were to beat the Giants, which I'm going to go on a limb and say they will beat the Giants. It won't matter if the Cowboys beat the Commanders. Again, 4:25 Eastern kickoff for that one on Fox. And the best game of the weekend with the most implications, the one I'm most looking forward to is the Sunday night game of the Buffalo Bills going into Miami to face the Dolphins. The winner of this game does win the division. And the AFC East, obviously, the Dolphins are right now in first place. But if the Bills were to win that game, they win the division and they're in the playoffs. And they'll have a home playoff game. Now, the Dolphins have been one of the unluckiest teams in the NFL this season. It's been pretty sad. The amount of injuries and the things they've had to go to. And going into this game, Bradley Chubb has a torn ACL. Jalen Phillips ruptured his Achilles a few weeks ago. So both of their best pass rushers are out. Tua is banged up. He has an injured left shoulder, which he is a lefty, so that's his throwing shoulder. Jalen Waddle will not be playing in this game, his second best receiver. The Dolphins with a lot to play for. Now, if the Dolphins lose, right, they are still in the playoffs. So they've already clinched a playoff spot, so they'll be in. But you have a potential to go from being the 2 seed and hosting a playoff game against the lowest seeded team, the lowest seeded wildcard team, to dropping all the way down to the wildcard spot and potentially having to play the Bills again, depending on how things shake out. So, that's a pretty crazy scenario to think about. But we'll see how that one goes. That's going to be a massive game that I'm really looking forward to on Sunday night between the Bills and the Dolphins. Looking in the NFC, there's only that one playoff spot available still. You have the Niners, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Eagles, and the Rams have all clinched a playoff spot. And right now, you have the Buccaneers and the Packers, who are the 2 most likely to get in. Buccaneers should win the division, even though nobody has wrapped up that division. They should win the division if they beat Carolina. They will win the division, if they beat Carolina. And on the outside looking in, you still do have the Seahawks, the Saints that would get in. Falcons and Saints play each other. If the Buccaneers were to slip up and lose to the Panthers, the winner of that Atlanta-New Orleans game would win the NFC South. So, I mean, there are a lot of crazy things that could happen this weekend. In the AFC, you still have 3 spots available right now, and you have 5 teams fighting for those spots. It's going to be pretty crazy to see what happens, and this is what's so fun about the NFL and obviously about professional sports in general. But when you have going into the last week or the last game of the season, all these different scenarios of what could happen, and how the playoff seeding could shake out, it's pretty fun and pretty dang entertaining. And the NFL did a really good job of the way that they scheduled these games, so that basically every game, before and after the other like that is meaningful. So they're going to have people on their toes all Saturday and Sunday long. Again, guys, feel free to call or text the show at any time if you guys have anything you want to jump in about to debate on the show. It is 980-202-0785. Again, it should also be down on the ticker down here, most likely farther over here this way. So you guys can always use that number from the ticker, or again, it's 980-202-0785. You can call or text the show at any time, and we'll fit you in, get you on the line, and we'll definitely talk about whatever you can. You also can always comment on whichever platform you are watching this on. We are live currently on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, so feel free to leave a comment on any one of those platforms. And make sure also, as I mentioned before, to like and subscribe wherever you may be watching. But it's a massive weekend in the NFL, and a lot of games to look forward to. But we also have a massive one to look forward to on Monday in the College Football Playoff National Championship between the Washington Huskies and the Michigan Wolverines. Now, last weekend proved the committee 100% got this thing right. There were a lot of people complaining about Florida State not getting in. There were a lot of people complaining about Florida State not getting in, and that why did Alabama get in? Mostly that was the biggest thing is how are you going to put Texas and Alabama in, and how are you going to leave out Tennessee? Not Tennessee, obviously Tennessee, but how are you going to leave out Florida State? And Florida State went out and lost 63-3 to Georgia. Michigan game and the Washington Texas game came down to the final play of the game. One of them went into overtime in that Michigan Alabama game. What's crazy about that one, that Michigan Alabama game, is Alabama played so bad for the majority of that game, but it was still such an entertaining game. Michigan absolutely dominated on the line of scrimmage, which I've watched every Alabama game this season. I haven't watched every Michigan game. I've watched a few Michigan games, but I've watched every Alabama game this season. And I will say this is the most inconsistent that I've seen this Alabama offensive line in a long time. And it was surprising to see the amount of problems the Michigan did give them. Their center, Alabama's center, was so bad in that game. There were so many bad snaps, and he's actually put his name in the transfer portal now. I'm sure that his social media was probably not a fun place, and I hate that. But unfortunately, that's just kind of the world that we live in. But man, what a game! And then that Washington Texas game, Washington had that thing in the bag. I mean, they had it wrapped up completely, I thought. And then here comes Texas with a chance on the last play of the game to win it. And Ewers just missed the throw, I think, a little bit. And I mean, it was such an awesome game, though. The national championship should be a fantastic matchup. Right now, the odds favor Michigan by, I believe, the last I saw, line was 4.5 in favor of Michigan. I'm going to go out and say this: Washington is an incredible football team. I'm not saying that Michigan is not, but I think that Penix could make the argument that even though Jaden Daniels didn't win the Heisman, I think we can make a pretty good argument that Michael Penix Jr. is the best player in college football. He made some throws during that game against Texas that I don't know if anybody else in the country can make those throws. And his story is just so awesome. I remember when he was at Indiana completely lighting it up and, you know, having such an awesome run. Okay. Hey guys. I'm hoping I should be connected again. I'm not sure what was going on with that. If you guys can see me and hear me, please let me know in the comments wherever you may be watching. Please let me know so that I can just know that I'm back on here because I don't know what's going on. I just did get a notification that there may be an outage with my internet. I don't know what's going on with Spectrum, but okay, awesome. All right, cool. That's for. Hold on a second, you guys. I'm trying to make sure I have this all set up for later. Okay, there we go. Okay. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for hanging in there. And yeah, we're back now, so I'm glad. Thanks for letting me know, Austin. I did see your comment as well, Austin, where you said if Penix goes out and plays like he did in the semifinal, there should at least be conversations for him going first overall. I don't think that's out of the question at all. I think he has played himself into being a first round pick. Now, whether it's first overall or not, that we'll have to see. Um, Obviously, what has happened is obviously you have Drake May and you have Caleb Williams, right? Those are the two guys that have been most mentioned with that number one pick. And if I'm the Chicago Bears, which they have the first overall pick right now because of the trade with the Panthers, that they made to trade up to get Bryce Young. If I'm the Bears, I'm going to look at my roster and I'm going to say, look, I think personally, like I was saying earlier, I think Justin Fields is the man. I really, really like Justin Fields. I think that he's Lamar Jackson esque in the type of athlete that he is. I don't think he throws the ball nearly as well as Lamar does at this stage in his career, but he's still only in his fourth year in the league, and I think he has a ton of room to grow. The really, really unfortunate thing for Justin Fields as well is he's had so many different coaches already through his first 4 years, so many different coordinators through his first 4 years that I think that you have to take that into consideration when it comes to inconsistency or quality of play at this point. But I think he's the man. And what you have to look at though is, are you willing to give him the amount of money that the quarterback market is asking for? I mean, it's going to be 40 million plus a season for Justin Fields to keep him. And if you're not willing to pay that, you can keep him around. You can pick up his fifth year option, but you can use that first overall pick to draft, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's Drake May, whether it's Penix, whoever it is, at first overall. But if I'm the Bears, I'm keeping Justin Fields. And with that first pick, if I cannot trade it, if I can't get somebody to overpay for it, kind of similar to the way that the Panthers did, I'm using that first pick and I'm picking Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm having my receiving core be DJ Moore with Marvin Harrison Jr. Along with, they have Komet at the tight end, who I think is very underrated. And if Justin Fields cannot have success with Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore as his two main weapons, then at that point you may decide that you need to move on and go elsewhere with the quarterback. And you can, trade Justin Fields, or, if you want to just let him walk after the fifth year option, whether it's that you extend him or pick up just his fifth year option. That's kind of the decision you're going to have to make at that point. But I know for me, and again, I'm very glad I don't have to make these type of decisions. But if it's up to me, I'm keeping Justin Fields and I'm drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. at number one. That's just me. Or again, I'm trying to trade that first pick to see if I can get another weapon of some sort for the offense, whether it's an offensive lineman, whether it's a receiver, whether it's a top tier running back, whatever it may be. But I'm trading that first overall pick if I can. But if I cannot, I'm not using it on a quarterback. I'm picking Marvin Harrison Jr., which I think absolutely warrants the first overall pick. I think he's that good. Just a thought. Just a thought. But I appreciate that comment, though, Austin. I think absolutely Penix has earned to at least be in the conversation. Agreed. 100%. But, man, that should be a fun game between Washington and Michigan on Monday. 7:30 Eastern on ESPN, I believe. There's a lot of different, casts that they're doing of it, too. So, there will be a Game Pass version of it with Pat McAfee and his crew will be on the sideline, kind of how they did for the Rose Bowl between Alabama and Michigan. Not sure if there's a Manning cast of that game or not. I don't know if they're doing a Manning cast, but I know that there should be kind of something similar. There'll be a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to watch that game, though. So, whatever your cup of tea is, should be a lot of fun to watch that. All right, guys. Well, we've kind of reached the portion of the show where I've talked about everything that I have, that I kind of prepared to talk about. So your calls and texts are welcome. Again, the number is down on the banner, but it is also, I can tell you, 980-202-0785. You can call or text into the show. And if you guys have any questions or if you want to debate anything or have any comments on anything that we've talked about today, whatever it may be, please make sure to call or text the show. Again, the number is on the banner on the bottom, but it is 980-202-0785 to call into the Big CeeJ Sports Podcast. Also, the time in the show where, again, I ask if you have not done so already to like and subscribe. Please, I want to grow this channel as big as we can get it. So that way it can continue to improve and improve and improve. We can make this as good and as unique as possible. I can have ways to have guests on, sponsorships, all that fun stuff, so that the show can continue to grow. But again, feel free to call or text the show. Number is right there down on the ticker, or it is 980-202-0785. While we're waiting on any communications here, we can check on any live scores from the sports world right now. Let's see what we've got going on here. Looks like we got a barn burner in Boston between the Celtics and the Jazz. Celtics leading that one by 32 in the fourth quarter. Oh man. That's unfortunate. Let's see what else we got here as far as the NBA tonight. I'm sure that there's quite a few games going on. There are. Looks like we have also Pacers leading the Hawks by 32. Tyrese Halliburton has 18 assists in that game. He only has 10 points right now, but he has 8 rebounds and 18 assists. That's pretty impressive. Man, lots of blowouts right now. The Nets leading the Thunder 85-53 in the third quarter. Cavaliers over the Wizards 64-48 right now. Donovan Mitchell has 22 points. The Knicks are leading the Sixers by 19, 77-58. That's early in the third quarter. Jalen Brunson with 23 points. So that is a close game there. This one is right here. The Bulls and the Hornets are at the half. Bulls are leading 47-41. Miles Bridges with 17 points at the half. Timberwolves are leading the Rockets by 10 at halftime, 56-46. Clippers over the Pelicans right now, 56-41. Paul George with 15 points in the first half. Mavericks are leading the Trailblazers by 11 late in the first quarter. Kyrie Irving with 12 points so far in the first. And we have a couple games about to start here between the Nuggets and the Magic. Nuggets coming off I don't know if you guys saw that buzzer beater by Nikola Jokic last night against the Golden State Warriors, but that was pretty impressive. You have the Nuggets and the Magic. You have Suns and Heat about to start. Warriors Pistons at 10 o'clock. Lakers Grizzlies at 10 o'clock, and Kings Raptors at 10 o'clock as well. Man, De'Aaron Fox, I did not realize is averaging 29 points a game right now. That's pretty dang impressive. But again, you guys, feel free to call or text the show 980-202-0785, and we can talk about anything that you guys want to. Again, whether it's something that we've already talked about, whether it's anything new, whether whatever you guys want to do, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll definitely make sure to do so. And again, you can call or text the show, whichever you are more comfortable with. Number is down on the ticker below, but you can also call the number 980-202-0785. I'll go ahead and share that screen with you guys as well. Let me get to the right one here. There it is. Perfect. All right. And again, number you should hopefully be able to see on that screen. Yep, right up there, 980-202-0785 is the number. All right, looks like we do have a message here. Say, do you think the Warriors are completely dead? Great question. The Warriors are it's very tough, right? Because the Warriors right now playing without Draymond Green, who obviously at this point in his career is, not the same guy, I think we can say. Um he was never a guy that's going to light up the scoreboard, but he's a guy that's going to fill the stat sheet, that's going to defend at an extremely high level, that's going to be a guy that's going to bring the energy every single night. And he certainly brings energy, but it's not the right kind anymore. In the midst of a suspension right now, obviously, and he's a huge part of this team. Obviously, we're going to talk about Steph and we're going to talk about Clay. Those are obviously the two guys that come to your mind first when you think of this excellent run that the Warriors have had, right? But Draymond Green is the heartbeat of that team. And if he's going to continue to do what he's been doing as of late, and that is, put people in chokeholds and punch people in the face and throw elbows, that's not what any team needs. Nobody needs a guy that's just going to come in and act like a fool out there. You obviously want somebody that's going to come and set the tone, and that's going to be physical and all those different kind of things, but you don't want somebody that's going to come in and just be an idiot. And that's kind of what Draymond Green has been, and I feel like it's taken a big toll on this team. I think Steve Kerr is sick of it. I think that his teammates are sick of it. And I think that that's a big piece of why they're struggling the way that they are. He hasn't been with the team. I think this is his the 12th game now that he's missed because he's kind of suspended indefinitely, and they didn't really put an amount of games as far as to how long he was going to be out. They kind of just said indefinitely, and he's got to go through a lot of different things right now. I would say that this season the Warriors will not make any sort of run at a championship. If Draymond can figure things out, then I think that they maybe be able to make one more run. You never know. Clay apparently wants the max, and I don't know if they want to give him that type of money or not to keep him around there. So, if Clay Thompson leaves, he's obviously not the same guy that he was before all the injuries, but still one of the best shooters that I've ever seen play the game of basketball. And I will say, as long as you have Steph Curry, it's probably hard to say that they're completely out of it. But man, I think it would be very, very tough. Very, very tough for the Warriors to make any sort of run this season. There's going to have to be some major changes, and unfortunately, teams don't usually make complete overhaul changes. That with that little amount of time left in the season like that are going to affect kind of the outcome of the season. Thank you for your question, though. Again, you feel free to call or text the show, you guys. 980-202-0785. That number on the screen over, I believe it's right up here. Or it's also down on the ticker below as well. Get a little drink of water here while we're waiting on any additional calls or texts. Get 980-202-0785, the number. Sorry, guys, just had a friend come in here. But again, feel free to call or text to show you guys. Your participation is very much welcomed. Any topic you guys want to talk about, feel free to give a call into the show, and we'll definitely talk about it. It's a really nice feature that I think that we should be able to do here is have some conversation about the show. Hold on, you guys. Apologize for that. Alrighty, you guys. Apologize. But man, I think it's I mean, if you guys missed that last question, it was about are the Warriors dead this year? I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to make any sort of run at this point. I'll give this just another couple minutes, you guys. If we don't have any more calls or anything like that, we'll call it an evening, and everybody can get back to their weekend. But again, please feel free to call in 980-202-0785, the number for the Big CeeJ Sports Podcast. You can also, at any point during the week, at any time, if any thought comes to your mind, you can always call that number or text that number. Any questions or any topics that you guys maybe would want to go over on the show. Your input is always appreciated. I do this thing for you guys, obviously, and that's what I want to do. Going forward as well, you guys, I'm really trying to see if I can get additional speakers into the show with me, whether that's remotely or whether that's at if I can find some sort of common space where we can do the show from. That's obviously to be decided at this point, but I'm really trying to get build the show as much as we can. So you guys don't just have to hear my rambling voice the entire time. But what I'll go ahead and do, you guys, I'll go ahead and end the show this evening. But I do want to appreciate any of those that did watch live or any of those that did watch this on repeat. Again, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. Your support is very much appreciated. You can also comment on the video as well, whether you've done it live or whether you're watching this back. But I wanted to thank everybody for doing so. Hope your new year was wonderful. Hope you had a great Christmas, great holiday season. Excited for anything to come this year. For what's to come in the future here. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement and a lot of things that we should be able to accomplish together in this new year of 2024. So everybody have a wonderful night. great weekend. God bless, and thanks for tuning in.